This is the first time I've maybe seen this map in a competitive setting. I'm really excited to see how this plays out, and how survivors are able to utilize the structures here. Have you seen any competitive games on this map yet, Snapply?
I have seen, I believe, an Oni match on this map, which I guess caters to Oni's power in that there is a lot of slightly less safe pallets sprinkled in the middle of the map here, so Oni can get faster hits and get power. But I think the main thing that kind of links Oni and Unknown here is mobility. Unknown, for how large of a map this is, Unknown will be able to teleport across it with the right hallucinations. I mean, we see one getting placed right now. Kind of blocks Spider's escape. If they try getting away from here, beautiful bounce from Ultra off the pallet there. Getting a injury onto Spider, and this is exactly what you don't want against Unknown. You don't want to be taking this injury while weakened here, which will result in our first down. A beautiful bounce from Ultra coming in. I mean, one of the most fun parts about Unknown to me is mastering, like, the physics of the UVX. Trying to bounce it off of things into the survivors is a lot of fun. And we hear a scream in the distance telling us that Pain Resonance was, in fact, used on one of the gens. And we're saying bye-bye to Ruin right off the bat. I pointed out earlier that Ultra loved to cook with Unknown builds. And you saw a lot of Hexes being used in the past on Ultra's Unknown builds. But this time, that will not be happening. They will not have the Ruin to defend with hallucinations. And they will just have their Pain Resonance use here. That is going to be the find onto Fancy, as Sprintburst is going to be booking it out of there to the theater. I mean, this match started off very much in Ultra's favor with the first down, but they don't really have a lot of gens around here, so I'm interested to see how the survivors are going to play around this lineup. Either they're just going to work gens or have somebody go for it pretty fast.
Yeah, and that's again one of those things in competitive that's really different from, like, say, lay players who are just playing pubs matches is, sometimes it's just better to leave people on a hook. And honestly, in this situation, I might have just left them on the hook for a while because, as you said, there are not a lot of gens over here. They could have been perfectly content to kind of just be across the map sitting on gens. We do see one go. I wonder if we're going to see a second one because we have only seen 2 survivors so far. I would be very surprised if there wasn't a second generator getting close to popping as well. Moving on to inside of this theater, a really nice shot against that pallet.
Yeah, and it's going to be about how much time Spider can buy here. This pallet is usually pretty strong, but the lingering effect of the UVX is going to be ensuring that Ultra gets another down here. But this pallet, I mean, it's interesting to see how Unknown players play around pallets like this, because against a lot of killers, this pallet is a bit of a pain to play around. The survivors have a lot of clearance to just vault back and forth, but against Unknown, it becomes a completely different story. The survivors not particularly safe playing around that, as we have seen there. I mean, Spider, though, did buy a fair amount of time, but yeah, I was curious as well. I was expecting to see a second gem pop in that time, just because of the fact that there's 2 survivors unaccounted for. But it looks like we don't have too much progress on this gen so far. Judging by the bloodstains, this was Fancy working on it. That still leaves 2 survivors unaccounted for, Cyber AI and Satina, but this is going to be the chase. Resuming on to Fancy. They need to get something going here shortly. They do get a second gen pop and the unhook, so I mean, the survivors being on top of things right now. Second gen pop, unhook on the way, not letting Ultra get too much pressure for the down on Fancy. That was exactly what they needed there. They needed to get all of their survivors back on their feet before Fancy went down.
Yeah,
and now Ultra.
I was going to say, it looks like Ultra is going to just be going straight up for this tunnel out, and honestly, I think that is a perfectly valid decision here. Going to be getting that down on the Claude, and that is going to be Claudette sent back to the campfire. And 3 gens left. Question is, I haven't been able to tell, is there a really solid 3 gen around? Not that it is as important for a character who has a little bit more mobility like the Unknown. It looks like the only thing I see is kind of this 3 gen over here that is okay, I think, but
it's not exactly perfect, but yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, there's not too much of a gen spread here for Ultra to play around, so they are going to have to rely on chase prowess here to get themselves more pressure. And fortunately for them, they did hit a beautiful shot onto Fancy at the shack there, and now have secured the injury onto them. But this tile, notoriously difficult to play around for Killer Side in the long wall jungle gym. And it looks like Fancy, beautiful pathing actually, going to be able to get away from the pallet, make a lot of distance to the main building. Not exactly where Ultra wants to chase, but they did still have that hallucination there and are able to teleport right behind Fancy.
Oh. Just a little bit of an overshoot there with that UVX, but I do think we're going to see a down coming in here pretty quick. Meanwhile, we do have a little bit of progress going on a couple of gens. Again, not as much progress as I would have anticipated necessarily. Am I crazy for thinking that? I feel like
I completely agree here. The survivors, it feels like not quite fully on top of gens so far, but they do have 50% on 2 gens minus the pain res on the main building one, and importantly, Ultra did not notice the survivor on the main building gen, which means that they will be able to get this unhook relatively soon and get back working on their gen, seeing as Ultra is right now across the map. Of course, for Unknown, that doesn't mean too much as they can teleport back, but regardless, they are going to be heading over to this statue gen, getting a kick with Eruption on it, and trying to find who is working on this. Of course, it's Cyber AI, but Ultra doesn't know that, or doesn't know where they are just yet, and it looks like we're going to be seeing even more stealth coming in from the survivors, something that has been a bit of a theme so far. The survivors having excellent stealth, not giving anything away for free, and if Ultra isn't able to find Cyber here, they have just vested a lot of time in this. That's going to go kind of unrewarded.
Yeah, absolutely. They are spending a lot of time looking for Cyber AI back here and not finding them. Huh. They were actually pretty...
Yeah, they were very well hidden there.
Not really going to pay off having to head back to that main building, but they do know someone's going to be over there. They are probably going to be trying their best to keep that gen from popping, but it's just so far across the map. Honestly, at this point, I mean, I know that you don't ideally want to let any gens pop, but if you do let this one pop, you are kind of corralling your survivors into a little more of a central area, which would make finding them a lot easier. Do you do you think about letting this gen just go?
I don't think Ultra is going to let it go without a fight, just because they want to find the survivor working that and get a tag onto them. But yeah, I definitely don't think they need to be quite as concerned about that gen as they do need to be about, say, this one or the one right next to Shaq. But yeah, given how spread apart these gens are, I think they're just trying to get everything they can. They actually do guess that Fancy's hiding in the corner. They use their UVX to scope that out for them and get the weakened status effect onto them. So, I mean, beautiful instinct from Ultra. They're just able to guess exactly where Fancy's hiding. And now we're back at this main building in Pallet, which we've seen in the past is not very safe against Unknown, which means this is going to be a down and an eruption proc onto the statue gen, which is exactly what Ultra has been looking for this whole time.
There we go. And now they have spotted Cyber AI. They are going to be going after them in full force. Meanwhile, Fancy led our killer over to our favorite wall, the comp wall, and is just going to be chilling over there on the ground for a little bit. We do lose a gen over at main building. Ultra needs this chase to pay off. They've spent so much time over on this half of the map just looking for Cyber AI. They need this down. Oh my god! Did they hit that, like, through the crevasse in between the tree and the rock?
I think they used the kind of explosive effect of UVX there. They shot the wall there just so the explosive effect would reach the other side of the pallet in case Cyber AI was hugging the wall there. And unfortunately they were, so they did take the injury there. They did manage to get rid of their weakened status effect, but I think this is just going to be a down. They are going to force the locker, though, to give the survivors a bit more time and to try dodging a slug from coming in here. Looks like Fancy going to be resuming their progress on this gen. I mean, this is difficult for the survivors. They have somebody on hook far away from the gens that they're working on. They're going to have to rotate so far to get to it. And just like that, that is the injured survivor being found out. If Ultra gets this down too quickly, they can just go right back to the hook with their teleports. So they're going to have to make this last, which is kind of difficult when you're weakened and injured right off the bat. But they might be able to just buy enough time. They are going to go down on the wall again, but it is enough time to get Cyber off the hook. That is something going for Arctic Wolves right now. They need just something on their side here. They managed to get the unhook. They managed to get some progress on this gen, but it looks like Cyber AI going to be taking it very safely here. Not going to allow themselves to go down again anytime soon. Positioning for the unhook. But I'd be interested to see if Satina is going to just hold on to this gen here and possibly even let themselves go down for it.
I think they're committing to this gen. They need it to pop. Oh, I was wrong. They did not. I do want to say, though, slightly already happened, but Fancy did a really great job just now when they saw our killer coming right for them, pre-dropping that pallet and using it to proc their life to get a little more distance across the map. Really well done. This Hattie, though, now in chase, heading right over towards Shaq. They do have a pallet here to work with. They are going to take a tag, which is going to give them a little bit of distance here. That generator, which was so close to popping, ultimately did not commit to that. Probably for the best. This is why I'm not a competitive player.
Yeah. It's a lot of in-the-moment decision-making here. You have to know, you have to kind of think on the spot and think, what is the best course of action here? And they have judged that letting that gen go for now was probably the best play. But the spread of injuries here from Ultra is just going to mean they get 2 downs in quick succession. Not much the survivors could do about that because they were already injured. So it's going to come down to if Satina here can manage to just evade the killer for long enough and not get found. Not going to be touching this gen, possibly to make Ultra think that it's not being worked on, but I think they have just been seen here at the edge map, or at the edge map palette here. And I mean, yeah, it doesn't look like there's going to be much the survivors can do at this point. We don't have second chance perks like Deliverance and Breakable against Unknown, so I think this should just be a wrap on the game at a 4K2. Yeah, while they chose not to commit to that gen, I don't know if I fully agree there, because there's 2 other survivors standing at the time, so if you just manage to pop that gen and let yourself go down, the 2 other survivors have time to work on other stuff, possibly work on another gen, or just set themselves up to get the rescue. So
yeah,
but in the end,
it was so close. In a game about points, I kind of think maybe committing to that, especially since they were both unhooked, neither of the other survivors were hooked at that point. I think that Serena popping that gen would have been pretty big for them. Unfortunately, now they have set themselves up to be in kind of a difficult situation going into their killer gameplay. 4K2, pretty good result for Ultra here. I will be interested to see how this next game plays out.
Yeah, I mean, on a map like Greenville Square, it is much larger than what we're kind of used to seeing Unknown on. I think a lot of the time his standard map is Wrecker's Yard, which is a good deal smaller than Greenville Square. So it's going to be a question of how used to a map like this you are on the killer side for Arctic Wolves. Are you used to playing Unknown on a large map like this, or are you used to playing on a map like Wrecker's Yard that's a lot smaller? So that's kind of probably going to be part of the deciding factor here, and if Arctic Wolves is able to get something going, is how familiar they are with a map like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this isn't a map that I've seen in comp hardly at all. Again, I think this is maybe the first time I've seen this map in comp.
Yeah, for a map like this, it is going to be all about the start. I mean, kind of interesting corrupt spawn, not giving Mango too many ideas of where the survivors are. You have the main building corrupt, you also have these 2, so you know they'll be somewhere in this corner, but other than that, they do have a decent spawn ahead of them. But that is going to be a weekend hit onto Nini here, and that is just not going to be an M1. The auto aim onto the rock coming in clutch for Nini, but that is going to be a missed UVX blast, which means Nini will be able to cleanse himself of that weakened status effect, take the chase to main, exactly where you want it. A very strong position to be in for Nini here. But then again, we have seen this tile inside of main be very hard to play around last game. So Nini going to just leave it right now, try buying more time by just making a loop around the main building one more time. And Mango not going to be able to land the UVX blast. Nini going to be taking even more distance. And I can imagine Cynic survivors getting on gens right now towards the other side of the map, trying to set themselves up for this early gen pressure that we kind of didn't quite see last game from Arctic Wolves. They had a very strong first chase, but not 2 gens to show for it, which is exactly what they needed.
Yeah, we do see a really strong 3-gen over on this half of the map, in the one in main building, and then 2 gens almost directly on top of each other. But survivors, they are already making a ton of progress on gens. Oh my gosh. They have 2 that are at least 50% at this point, plus the one that just popped. That was a little bit of a longer chase than I think Mango was hoping for. Still in an okay position, but they have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, they do end up getting the hook on Nini in a pretty good spot for them. It is worth noting. And we're going to be seeing the Pop Goes the Weasel coming into the game right there. Kind of making the gen regress a decent amount more than it normally would. And that was actually a really good shot onto Acid through the shack window there. and Mango gonna be returning back towards the hook side of the map, trying to just secure as much as they can in this time. They know that only one survivor is likely working gens right now because of what they've just seen. I believe they actually caught the person rotating for the pool there, and they're just going to be holding this center point, almost like it was Suffo Pit slinger sets that we saw last time. Just not going to let the survivors pass, trying to secure as much time on Nini as possible, and possibly try securing a really early tunnel out like Ultra did last game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's probably the way to go here. They really can't afford to give an inch here, and they are going to be doing their best to keep these survivors corralled away from hook. I think if they can secure second stage there, that's huge for them. That's actually a really, really big thing.
Yeah, they're going to have to follow through on this tunnel out as fast as possible, though. This is a lot of gen progress being taken by Cynic here, and it looks like Wancy has actually managed to go under the radar there, getting behind main without Mango noticing. They did see them going towards there, but just going to be biding their time. They do manage to get the rescue. Mango with the TP leading right back to hook, but at this point, I would imagine Nini has gotten a decent amount of distance, though it looks like they might have been trying to reset under the hook.
That's ambitious. Oh boy, I don't know that that's the choice I would have made. Again, I am a pubs player, but I don't know about all that. This seems to be like a really scary position for our survivors, and we are going to be looking at our first out at 3. Oh!
Never mind.
Oh no. Oh no. Mango, I'm so sorry. It was the caster's curse. I'm so sorry, man. Oh.
Regardless, they are still going to be chasing Nini here at the main building. Going to be forced to break this pallet as they do not have Nini weakened just yet. And Wancy playing the bodyguard here, taking a hit, getting the flashlight save for Nini here, just ensuring they buy even more time for the survivors to work gens. And it looks like Mango going to be getting the weakened stat effect onto Wancy, daring them to come back for another hit that they desperately would need here. And that is going to be the chase onto Nini, still going. Nini getting a beautiful stun.
Wow.
This is taking way longer than they want it to.
Oh no. Cynic absolutely just turning it out here. We were worried. Who were we to be worried? My goodness. That body block, insane. The fact that ultimately we are gonna see an out here, but that body block, that flashlight save. Oh wait, were they setting up? They were setting up to go for another one. You cheeky things, you. It's so funny because we see, in my experience casting, I've seen so few flashlight saves actually happen that when it does happen, I forget. It's like I forget that that's a thing that can happen in comp because I don't see it very frequently. So that was, what a treat.
Yeah, Mango following the tunnel up with another down, but that just took a bit too long, and that was the 4th generator pop, giving Cynic, I believe, the win here. I mean, they can still pursue even more here. They can get more gens done if they wish. Mango does. I actually don't know what Mango's gen spread is at the moment, but I'm not sure. It looks like it might all be in that corner there with the main building center. So
yeah,
still a decent position if you want stages.
Yeah. Man, that was spicy. That, honestly, that flashlight save is what I think kind of won this game. Ultimately, the macro gameplay of these survivors, incredible, but that flashlight save was a huge turning point. If they had gotten Nini out just like a tiny bit sooner, they might have had a better shot at potentially bringing this back. But these survivors they're just playing out of their minds.
Yeah, something I kind of want to put note on is Cynic was actually, we noted that Mango had a decent gen setup around the main building, but Cynic knew what they were playing for there, and they knew that they didn't really need to play into the 3 gen, so they just worked on every other gen outside of the 3 gen, leaving this for last, knowing that if they did get down to this 3 gen, they'd already be in a winning position.
Yeah, that is kind of one of the benefits of going second on Survivor, is that you know what you need to do. And I mean, I suppose it really just depends on how you've done in your first round, because if you've done well on Killer, then you've set yourself up well for Survivor, and vice versa. But knowing exactly what you need to do can totally influence how you play. If they had needed to get like 4 gens or 5 gens done, they absolutely would have been working harder to get in that 3-gen, and that would have changed the way they were playing this entire game. But you're right, they didn't need to do that. They knew exactly what they did need to do, and that's what they've done, which meant that they didn't have to play into the 3-gen at all. So the fact that our killer was kind of protecting this 3-gen didn't really matter to them.
Yeah, and we saw that they were more than comfortable to take chases deep inside of it, such as Ultra is doing now, actually. We still have this gen set up around the top side of the map, but Ultra not going to be bothered by that, going to keep putting up a very strong chase here. Unfortunately, not going to get the weakened away in time and is going to go down. We do have the reset coming in onto Wancy here. They are going to be doubling that gen. I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to get it by the time that Mango returns to it, but they are going to still have a lot of progress stored for later. And Mango, though, not guessing the correct gen, they actually go to main building first to use their pop, so they're not going to have that in their arsenal when they eventually find the gen the survivors are working on. At this point, I do believe Cynic has taken it, so they're just playing for the best result possible for their team, so that they can come away with it. Like, we might not have taken the set, however, we still made it a very close matchup and a very competitive one.
Ooh, spicy, spicy finishing that gen. Here's the other thing is, we know these teams play against each other all the time. So even though Cynic has won, Mango playing their best against this team is just good practice for them. You know, I mean, because inevitably they'll probably play against them again. So why not, you know, play your butt off and just see how well, like, see what kind of result you can get, you know?
Yeah. And so Mango does get down to Wancy. They're still chasing Ultra at main building. We see a gate open in the distance. Interested to see what Cynic decides to do here. Because, like you just said, they want to play for the best result possible just for the practice of it as well. So I'd be interested to see if Acid's just going to leave. They do get Wancy up. Possibly, I mean, I am not actually entirely sure where the gate that was opened was. So I'm not sure if Ultra is actually going to be able to get out. I do not believe they're going to be able to. This might just be a down here. And this probably will wrap up the game. I'd imagine that Wancy and Acid might be making an attempt to leave here soon. Or I could be wrong. We have Wancy lingering with the flashlight once again. Somebody wants to get a second flashlight save.
Honestly, I respect it, Wancy. Like, you know, me too, babes. When I have a flashlight, I will do anything to just get another flashlight save. It's like an addiction, you know? So, yeah, fair enough. Like, is that the right choice? No, but they've already won, so they can kind of do what they want, I guess.
They can go for the fun of it here, and Mango still just trying to secure their hook stages here. They want to get this result, and it looks like, I mean, Cynic is determined right now to get as many people out as possible, so I respect it. I respect trying to get something to put in the books here, and Mango gonna be taking this hook as far away as possible from that open gate. Kind of a pretty nice hook spot here. The survivors are just going to take the lead here.
No, Wancy is not. Oh, there we go.
There we
I
go.
was gonna say, Wancy was still hanging out there. I was like, there's no way they're staying to try for it. But hey, you know, they've had some cheeky gameplay, so. Man, what a game to watch. That was wild. The way that Ninny and Wancy were able to extend that chase at main building was